house, bro.
That's amazing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to SJH Mancave Live. This is a live show we're going to do on Facebook once a week on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Central Time to just give our followers an opportunity to join in the conversation, provide their thoughts on what's going on, and we want to hear directly from you about the things that are going on right now and our perspectives on it. So please, if you're listening to this and you didn't get a chance to join our last session, definitely make sure you join in the next one. It's a free-flowing, open dialogue. Oftentimes, we don't even know what's going to come up, but we're going to come together and have an open discussion about some of the pressing issues that are going on right now. If you're listening to this and would like to send us some feedback, you can reach us at SJH Podcast Family on Facebook and at SJH Mancave on Twitter as well. Or you can email us at info@sjhmancave.com. And with that, let's go ahead and jump straight into this, fellas, and start off with the Kenosha protest. So unless you've been living on a rock, I'm sure you know the details of how this got started, but let's briefly recap. Brother was having a conversation with the police. His first name is Jacob. I can't remember his last name right now.
Blake.
There we go. Yep, Jacob Blake. There's a video of him having a discussion with the police that for some reason escalates, where there's a brief scuffle, and then he's running towards his car that has his woman and 3 kids in it. And he leans over to reach inside of his car, and the police shoot him in the back 7 times. To my knowledge, there's no evidence whatsoever that he was going for a gun or that he was armed in any sort of way. And there are some reports saying that he came to the scene to break up a fight between 2 women, and that once the police were there and clearly had control of the scene, he then was trying to leave because there was no reason for him to be there anymore. And now he is not dead, but his family and lawyer are reporting that he will be permanently paralyzed from the waist down. So we wanted to get into this. First and foremost, fellas, did you see that video, and what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first, there's an update. USA Today just released something that said that the officer one officer did in fact shoot all 7 times into his back. So that's one thing. And then the second thing that they released is that the officer is saying that there was a knife present in the vehicle. Supposedly there was a knife by the driver floorboard or something. So that's just an update from via USA Today at this point in the whole thing. I just saw that.
So who released the statement from the cop that there was a knife? Like, was that the police, or is USA Today releasing that as part of their reporting? Do you remember how they present that information? I'm trying to find out, does the police feel like that helps their case?
Well, the only reason that the police let this out, this is from their department. Yes, I mean, of course it's released because they think it's going to help them out. The fact that there was supposed to be some knife on the floorboard or something.
Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't. It's just, it doesn't. Why didn't you tase the man? This is what you have tasers for. I don't understand that. And I don't understand this whole wall of white supremacists I'm seeing on social media saying, well, he had a knife. Well, who knows what he was reaching in his car for? They had to shoot him. What do you have tasers for if not to potentially disable a man who has his back turned to you that might potentially be a threat?
Why they let him get to the car? Why they let them get to the car if they were worried about him?
4 of them.
There was, because that's the best way to fuck around and kill somebody and whatnot. I mean, they literally walked around the car with him. Yeah. So they at the beginning of the original video, he was down on the ground next to the car on opposite side, walked clearly all the way around where they followed him and waited for him to open the door. So, I mean, what better way it is to put a bullet in somebody? We don't know what he's doing in there. Kill him.
I mean,
it makes sense. I mean,
we've all seen cops rush a suspect before who they felt like was a danger. We've seen where they're like, yo, you ain't going nowhere. All right, we've decided you're a threat. To see these people just lollygag behind him like yeet-a-dee, and then as soon as he opens his car, you put 7 bullets in him. How does this make sense?
At one point, the boy was on the ground. At one point, he was on the ground. I'm assuming that's when they tased him. So, and you clearly see it in the video, they surrounded him, but then they back up. They got the guns out, and then they follow him around the car. So, I mean, what better way to say that they felt their lives was endangered than to let him get in the vehicle? So, it only makes sense.
Sean King is, most of the people listen to the show probably know who he is, but just in case you don't, Sean King is someone on social media, very prominent on Twitter, and he's famous for doxing white supremacists or people who have committed violent acts against Black people. He released a statement, I can't remember if it was yesterday or today, but he released a statement saying that if the police department does not release the name of the officer who committed this act by Sunday, he's just going to start doxing random officers in the department and putting them out there to his millions of followers and saying, hey, this guy probably did it. This guy probably did it. This guy probably did it. Because the problem is they're protecting this person's identity so that they can scrub his social media presence, so that you won't have to see all the posts that this guy has about how can't stand Black people, can't wait to be able to shoot one of them, blah, 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 blah. So they're holding off as long as possible so that they can present as clean an image as possible once his name is actually released.
Oh, well, they've released it. It's in USA Today. Rustin Shesky.
Rustin Shesky?
Rustin Shesky.
Shesky.
Heck of a name right there. Hell of a name.
No, he sounds like he hate niggas.
Oh, man.
That's a name being raised that I hate niggas. That's probably what that name is. If you look up what the meaning of that name is, I hate niggas. That's probably what it is.
So actually, it wasn't even the police. The Wisconsin Department of Justice released the name.
Ooh. Look at Wisconsin. Oh yeah, they run by a Democrat, ain't they?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Wisconsin?
Yeah.
That I'm not sure about.
I think the mayor of Kenosha is definitely is Democrat.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe their governor is Democrat.
Interesting.
Trump, it's one of them states that Trump talk about all the time and shit. Like they horrible cities and shit, and the cities, and then they was another state and shit that didn't fuck around and want his money and whatnot and stuff. Like they basically told him, you keep your shit and go kick rocks. He ain't like that, so he talks shit about Wisconsin like a motherfucker. Like he talk about Michigan all the time.
You're right. It's Tony Evers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the whole Republican platform, all the Democrat, led states and cities and shit, they the ones that allow all this bullshit. And yeah.
So apparently the Kenosha Police Department does not have body cameras, which is why none of the police officers were wearing any of them.
Well, shit, Kenosha, that's fucking big. That's
right. Right.
It's basically like a little ass suburb and shit. They just got Black folk that live in there.
Right.
Which is weird. Like I've been to Kenosha and I thought I was probably the only Black person in it. And I rode through it real fast. Let me hurry up and get to fucking Milwaukee.
Yeah. Randomly, one of my best friends lives close to Kenosha. So I've been looking at his page and, all the white folks who live in the area, they're all equally horrified. No matter which side of the spectrum you fall on, to have something like this occurring in your community is just horrifying to experience. It's just horrifying experience. So, of course, after this occurred, there were protest, massive, at least for that area, for a place that's probably used to experiencing no protests whatsoever. This is probably a huge, big deal, where they burned down. I don't know if they burned it down, but I saw a video of, I guess, a major car dealership in that area on fire, along with people obviously out in the streets and having very hostile clashes with police, which is, par for the course for these protests, because the way the police treat us is a huge part of the problem. So did you all get a chance to look at any of that footage? How did you feel about it?
Well, what I find funny is it's enough fucking people that would not to have a protest in fucking Kenosha. You literally had to import people from Chicago and fucking Milwaukee to have a damn protest. Half the people that was there wasn't even from there. So, like, you can only fucking imagine. I mean, shit, the little housing complex where my man got killed out front of, hell, it's probably only maybe about 30, 40 fucking people live in it. So who you calling? Your cousins? You calling everybody else? Could y'all come up here? We got to have this protest. So,
I think the meme I saw on Facebook really spoke to it, and it basically said, how is it that they still feel comfortable with shooting a person in their back 7 times after 3 months of protesting? You have watched 3 months of protesting and you still feel comfortable enough to think this is okay. I don't get it. What are these? Are they living under rocks? Are they not seeing what's going on in the country? What excuse do these police departments have for not switching up their game right now? Why are they? What are they waiting on?
We in Kenosha. Nobody cares what happens in Kenosha. We'll be all right.
No, we got to get our chance too. Shit, we ain't gonna let them kill all of that. We gotta be able to do it too. Come on, man. I don't get what they think. What are they thinking about? I don't know, man.
I mean, technically, they still ain't barely been touched. I mean, it's been a lot of talk, and that little bit of bullshit they did up in Minneapolis with their so-called. I still don't know what they've been done with the whole defunding part. I don't know what they've done up there. I haven't looked at that.
They had a vote.
Seattle, I guess Seattle did something too at some point, but I don't know what they've done.
Another vote.
So I mean, police.
In Seattle,
they've been in the news.
In Seattle, it's official.
Official with the defunding.
Yeah, but it's
okay. So I would have to look up and see what they actually did then. Point. So, but yeah, I mean, that's basically what it break down.
They do something.
That's what it break down to. Nobody's been punished yet. I mean, the George Floyd guys, they in jail, but I mean, ain't no telling when the hell they going to court. I'm assuming that that's probably won't be till sometime either in October, November, possibly even next year.
And no telling what the
sentence. I mean, nobody's been punished. No, right. Not one cop has been touched. I mean, even them dudes up there in Buffalo who pushed the old man over. Mm-hmm. I mean, they literally just left the squad themselves and just went and worked someplace else. So, I mean, what reason do they have to really be careful at this point? I mean, it's still the same business at this point. Kill a nigga and ain't shit gonna happen.
Right.
They gonna talk about it for a while. It's gonna be some protests. They gonna get plenty of overtime. I mean, shit. That's just about it. And now apparently you got the militia out here killing niggas too. So you done fucked around and gave them permission and said, "Fuck it, this shit. They can start shooting niggas too." Because somehow having a rifle and being white gives you the privilege to just run around and shoot fuck people. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, shit. If ain't nobody being punished, then why would they stop? I mean, in the grand scheme.
That's
There's plenty of people talking shit, but ain't nothing happening.
Yeah. In these cases, I mean, they look solid. They look solid. They look good. But even look at George Floyd, just like you said. I mean, now there's stuff coming out where some medical examiner supposedly said he died of an overdose and not of. Mm-hmm. I mean they're setting up. They're setting up to try to dismiss the case, and they're just waiting long enough for us to forget. Because guess what? We're looking at the next killing, so we forget about this one. Right. And they're just using another killing to distract. I mean, they just keep kicking this can down the road, and we keep watching all this lip service coming our way, and people keep wondering, why are we being violent on the protest? Why is all this looting and this violence? I mean, what do we expect?
Right. I think there has to be another side to it as well, where we say the momentum, and I don't know how to do this because there's so much anger about the subject, but we've got to be pushing more people to vote. There's so many folks who are convinced that the government doesn't work for you. My vote doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is, in situations like this, who the district attorney is, who that person is matters. Who the judges are matter. Who is in your local government matters. That's going to play a huge part in whether or not they're going to take these cases seriously. If you don't vote, then you're not going to have an opportunity to place people in power who care about your perspective and want to ensure that these people are punished. And I feel like all too often, folks have the choice between punishing these cops and siding with a bunch of people who don't vote, in turn, pissing off a bunch of the people who do vote. And anytime you put a politician in that type of situation, they're going to side with the people that they know are going to show up to the polls. If you care about these cops being prosecuted and you care about how your local government is handling these cases, you have to vote. Even if you don't like Biden and Kamala, even if you don't like the top of the ticket, you've got to vote down ballot to put those people in power who actually care about your positions and are going to fight for you when things like this come up. Jason, I wanted to say something. I saw you shaking your head, frowning your face.
I just look at it like I look at everything else. Like, y'all know who my opinion on that is you want to vote somebody in that you feel is a good person, but you're voting them into a system and that's eventually going to corrupt them, or is going to defeat them. Now I understand, like, we vote, like we let's just say we vote Democrat straight down the board. Everybody in that motherfucker is a Democrat. We got Democrats in. I mean, shit, we got Democrats running shit now.
Right.
And I mean, what's happening? All they doing is talking good shit.
But this is the problem. What you just stated is the problem. Too many people are voting based upon party instead of based upon individual. I'm not saying vote Democrat. I said vote upon your own perspective. Vote based on who you are, and then look at the field of candidates and try to find the people who are aligned with your perspective. And if you don't see that person aligned with your perspective, then you need to consider running yourself. But something
I would
has
never
to be
wish
done.
That on somebody.
You can't just. I understand. But at the end of the day, some of these folks are going to have to step up before anything is going to change. You can't just continually say, well, the system is corrupt. The system is never going to work for you. If you just sit around and say that, but nothing will change.
That's my problem with it, though. I only get to vote. So once I vote, and let's just say, for instance, I'm voting for this person who's like-minded and who's telling me that he's going to go in, they're going to do, or she's going to go in and do what they said they're going to do. Awesome. We got them in. Here we go. And then they get in there and they start doing other shit. I can't do anything until the next election.
That's not true. That's not true.
Why isn't it?
Because the whole point of politics is pressure. Like that's everything that's happening right now revolves around pressure. And this, what you just mentioned right there, is one of the major issues. Like people feel like their only responsibility is to vote. I just have to vote for 4 years and then things will just magically change. No, you vote, and then there's pressure on the candidates that you've chosen and the politicians overall to do the things that you need them to do. This is what these corporations are doing. They don't just give a person money during their election and then just feel like everything will go okay. No, they have lobbyists. They have people in government to ensure their perspectives are constantly being stated and clear. I go to the alderman meetings in my neighborhood. It's all old folks, and a lot of those seats are empty. Like, you have to be willing to be a part of the process the entire way through. It can't be, well, I voted, but he didn't do what I wanted to, so now I'm waiting until the election and it's everybody else's fault but my own. Like, no, you have to be directly part of the process of making it clear this is where the community stands. And if you're not going to do this, you're in direct opposition of the community, and you will not be able to hold your position of power.
But okay, so it still breaks down to, okay, you're not doing this pressure that you're talking about. I'll ask the definition of that in a second. And what I'm trying to understand about this is, because I don't vote. I don't do this. I don't. Okay. And I haven't had anybody convince me otherwise why I should.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to understand what you mean by pressure when you say, okay, he gets in, I go to all these meetings, I go to these round tables or whatever, and I tell people, hey, this is what we need, this is what you need to be doing, this is what you should be doing. Mm-hmm. And they still don't fucking do it. So then what?
No, see, here's what happens. They still don't do it. And first of all, no matter what, like all 4 years, a politician is not going to do everything that you want them to do, right?
Of course.
What you have to be able to demonstrate is that you come from a community that is organized. It's like when you mentioned during our last podcast episode, you said if the cops attempted to do stop and frisk in your neighborhood, white people will go crazy, right? Well, what do you mean when they go crazy? They're going to be organized, come to the politicians that run their neighborhoods and say, look at what these cops are doing. This is unacceptable. We're not going to tolerate this. And you better do something about this real quick, or you ain't going to be in office when the next elections come around. Now, maybe those politicians ignore those white folks and say, stop and frisk is good. We like it. Our donors like it. We're going to keep it around. That means they won't be in power, though, when those next round of elections come around. And the next round of people that come, they're going to realize when those white people ask for something, they mean it. And if you don't do what they say, you're not going to be able to remain in power. So even though it failed that last time, this time you've proven we are organized. We are a voice you cannot ignore. And so therefore you become someone that they have to take into account, and your voice matters. Right now, we're not organized. We're not united in what we're asking of our political representatives. We don't vote. And consequently, when we stand up and say, we have an issue with this, police brutality is a problem, what's happening in our communities is a problem, we are ignored. The only reason they're paying attention to us now is because the first time in this country's history, Black folks are burning white people's shit, not our own shit. That's the difference. They're going downtown. They're going to rich people's areas, looting their stores, burning their cars, creating problems. So it's becoming something that the rich and powerful cannot ignore. But beforehand, we were burning our own stuff, tearing down our own businesses, not voting, not organized.
And there was nothing they had to worry about at that point. So,
Exactly. Right. The only way we're going to be able to put in political representatives that actually abide by our perspective and fight for our communities is to vote and then put organized pressure on those people. And yeah, we're going to have to weed out some folks that will pretend to be on our side and then do nothing that we ask. That's okay. This is a lifelong process that has to continue with our children. It's not about, well, we fought for this guy and we voted and it didn't work out. So now, oh, well, I guess we just got to go back to the drawing board, or what's the point of voting? This is why you get taken advantage of. This is why we get taken advantage of.
So if I can understand it, just kind of looking at it from what you're saying in regards to when it comes to the pressure that you put on a politician, more along the lines you're threatening their capability of forward movement with this political position that they're in. So it's their only benefit in order to acknowledge the community that and what they're saying, in order so they can keep those votes just in case they decide they want to go and do something else. I need them votes too.
All politicians want to remain in power. It is a balance between how can I do as much as I can for my donors and the people that give me money, while at the same time remaining in power and getting enough people to be willing to vote for me. And the problem we have right now in Chicago is siding with Black people and the impoverished oftentimes does not allow you to stay in office, because the people that you are helping do not vote. The best way to remain in power, at least before Lightfoot got in there, was to do what the mayor tells you. Because the mayor then, when you're up for re-election, will give you $25,000, $30,000 towards your alderman campaign. You'll be guaranteed a certain amount of people who are going to run those flyers for you, do that work for you. And then there's a certain block of people who are just going to do what the machine tells them to. And so it guarantees you re-election. Whereas if you went against Rahm Emanuel, if you went against the Dailies, if you said, no, I'm going to stand with the people that you all are trying to destroy, sure, you might be on the right side of history technically, but at the end of the day, you're going to be a one-term alderman, because these people don't vote. They don't vote and they don't pay attention. So they don't even know that you're fighting for them. All they do is sit up at barbershops and say, well, it's all the same. Nobody's fighting for us. There's no point. Things will always be horrible. And then they bitch and moan when someone gets shot or when something's happened in this community. We need to get on the same page about what it means to really fight. And part of fighting means that you need to maintain control over what's happening in the areas where you live. And you can't claim to have control of your communities when you have no control whatsoever over the people that are representing you. You have to decide that that's important if you want real change. That's a requirement. Otherwise, you end up in a situation where a kid gets shot in the back 15 times and the mayor holds the video for 3 months and nobody does anything about it. Nothing happens. It was all outside pressure forcing the Rahm Emanuel to release that video. It was outside organizations saying, you have to show the public what is happening. When the fact of the matter is, we should have had a mayor that was saying this video needs to be released. But because we don't vote as a block, and too many of us don't vote, period, we don't have enough power to do that. The fact of the matter is, Rahm's people came out and said he could have won re-election. They said if he decided to run again, even after closing 50 of our schools in the most racist, insensitive way possible, even after holding that video for 3 months and showing us complete disrespect, they felt like he could still win, but that it would be an absolute dogfight and that he wasn't interested in doing the dogfight. But at the end of the day, because we don't vote, because there's not enough people that actually care about us for us to be mobilized, he felt like at the end of the day, I can mobilize enough of the rich, enough of the wealthy, enough of the white Puritans to put me right back into office. Because these people that I'm screwing over, they're not organized and they don't care enough in order to ensure that I'm not in power. That is about the vote. That is about the vote. And too many people don't seem to understand that. And I'm not talking about the top of the ticket. You can say all sorts of things about how much power does the president have? What does the president really change? Blah, 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 blah. I'm not talking about the top. I'm talking about local government. Your local government has a huge amount of control and power on how you are treated. You must be part of that system. You have to care. Else you're going to just keep doing the same thing.
I'll say 3 points on it if I remember them as I talk. One point is, hey, you gotta, if 90% of my ward turns out for the vote, but in this last election, neither Lightfoot nor Periwinkle, neither one of them, they didn't have any discussions in my ward, right? They didn't come to my ward specifically, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we got 90% turnout in this ward, guess what? They're gonna be in this ward. and they're gonna be asking questions in this ward's of the residents in this ward, because hey, 90% turnout in this ward, that can help swing an election. So
Right.
they're gonna for sure want to talk to the people in this ward, and they're gonna have a discussion. They're gonna come specifically to this ward if we got 90% turnout. You know, the second thing is, even though no candidate might inspire you, right? I'm willing to bet that if you had to make a choice, you could choose one. Which means that if you had to make a choice and you chose one, and you would say that would be my choice if I absolutely had to vote or I'm going to jail, that means when you don't vote, you're actually voting for the other person. So if you could force yourself to choose someone, then when you don't vote, that person you were forced to choose, you've just chosen the other person. You've just helped the other person win. So whichever you think is the more evil of the two, you just helped that person get another vote. Is basically what you just done. Now here's the third part of it, and this is when we take it up. Now, this is something that a lot of liberals ain't gonna want to hear, right? But when you take it up to that top part of the ticket, right? Even though you might know you're gonna vote Democrat every time, who knows? But we got to start being flexible on that, or at least we got to make it look like we are. Because here's the thing: in a presidential election, Illinois don't matter. Illinois don't matter because Republicans, they don't think they're going to get Illinois, and Democrats think they are going to get Illinois. So there's no reason to listen to Illinois. The only concentration for the election, and Trump did this beautifully. He did this perfectly, is to concentrate on the swing states. He acted like, I could say Trump did not want to come here and speak. That was all a ruse. He did not want to come here and speak, and we did not prevent him from coming here and speak. It looked like we did, but honestly, he didn't care to come here and speak. He didn't care. So it looked like we got a victory. We prevented Trump from coming here and speaking. We did this or that. Trump didn't think he was going to get Illinois. So he didn't have plans on wasting his time. I can guarantee he probably didn't even write a speech. So you know, so those are the three things. Those are 3 points I would make with regards to voting. And because I used to be a not vote guy. And then when I sat and thought about those three things, it was like, you know, as much as it's annoying to get up and go out and do that doggone thing and stand in line possibly, you know, and do all that, you know, it's funny the small things that inconvenience you. Like I'll stay in that Wendy's line forever and wait for my spicy chicken sandwich, but I won't, you know, for a long time I wouldn't stand there and vote. So it's amazing the things that trigger you. But, you know, I realize now, you know, I just gotta, especially with the state of things, I gotta get out there and try to convince others to get out there too.
I've admit, like I've had my moments where I've wanted to. I just never, you know what? I'm not even gonna sit here and lie like I've ever done any research into people or anything like that. I assume the majority of most politicians fucking suck. That's how true. I feel about politics.
You're correct
like
about
politics
that.
And whatnot is just like, you know, politics I feel like is one of them things and whatnot that just really doesn't work. I mean, I'm assuming it works for some people because there's a lot of motherfuckers who's happy and the rest of us apparently can eat shit according to them and whatnot. So, you know, I never felt like my vote would really mean anything. And I voted, like, you know, when I turned 18, you know, I registered and I voted. I went and I punched all them tickets. And I remember when I went in and I voted, like, obviously at the top, that's when you used to punch them holes. I don't know if they still do that or not. That's about how long ago I voted. But I remember, like, the first choice was who the president was going to be. And I think when I turned 18, that was 98.
A long ass time ago.
Shut up. So I was trying to think about, like, who was, like, at that point, that would have either been Bush. No, it wouldn't have been Bush Jr. Who was before Bush Jr.? That was
Clinton.
Who was before Jr.?
Clinton.
Who was before W?
Bill Clinton.
Clinton. So maybe because Clinton did 2 terms, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I voted, the first time I voted, I think was for his second term. And then after I finished up, pushing the hole for him, I just went down the line and like, you literally vote for everybody in all these different wards, all these different districts, all these judges. And my thought was, who the fuck goes and does research about every fucking judge that's running or every fucking alderman? It only seems like I would want to focus on the ones that are in my area. But at the same time, you could be fucking somebody in a whole nother ward.
Yep.
So,
And
when
matters.
you go down the line, you start thinking, okay, well, Democrat.
That's what they count on. That's why. So what they do now, when you look at the
so when I saw that part about it, I will admit and shit, the lazy in me fucking jumped in. Like, I'm not about to do the research on all these fucking people. Shit.
So what they do now is when you look at the slides, they link the slides with a particular candidate. So when you're voting down the line, even if all of them are Democratic, they'll say like, surrogate of Bernie Sanders or surrogate of Hillary Clinton, so that you get an idea of who this person is aligned with when you're voting, down the block. So I'd say 2 things. One,
Okay.
I agree with you 100%. Most politicians suck, which is all the more reason why you have to pay attention to what's going on to understand whether or not a person is fighting for you. You have to understand the issues, because all politicians will stand at the podium and say, I defend poor people. I stand for the middle class. I want you to have everything you want out of life. I'm trying to give you great health care. All the while, most of these people are purposefully trying to destroy your lives for their own gain. So you have to understand the issues that are impacting your community, and then understand what those politicians are doing in regards to those issues, right? Like, for a perfect example, later on in this discussion, we're going to talk about Southwest investment. Lightfoot presents that as a great thing for the community. We're going to help all these South and West Side neighborhoods, and we're going to build them up, and we're going to strengthen all these Black people, and it's going to be great for all of them. But because we read it and look at it, and we know the history of Chicago, when we see that, that sounds like a bunch of gentrification. But if you don't understand what's going on, if you're not paying attention, then it's easy for a politician to delude you into believing that they're fighting for you. And the second thing I'll say goes back to what Hudson talked about as far as how many people in a particular area are voting and whether or not politicians will be willing to then come to that area and talk to them. I think getting more people to vote has to be a two-way street. So on the one hand, there needs to be more people in the community understanding that things are never really going to change. We're never going to be able to take control of our communities until we control the people who represent them. So there's that, right? But then you also have these Black people presenting themselves as potential political leaders and folks that we should trust. They need to also be willing to go to these areas where typically folks do not vote. And all too often, I feel like they focus on, well, there's these pockets of the community. I know these people vote. So I'm going to go to them and try to get them to side with me, as opposed to going to the vast majority of Black people. Not vast majority. I say it's like half and half. Like the other half of the Black folks who do not vote, and say, and try to make the case for them about why do they vote. I've mentioned on the show before, one of my best friends, his strongest memories as a child is Harold Washington coming to the projects and talking with everybody who was there. And he talked about how being a kid and being able to walk up to a person who was running for mayor and actually touch that person, how inspiring that was from him. He's on the project. These people ain't voting. The majority of these people are not coming to the polls. But Harold Washington is like, if I want these people to start coming to the polls, I better show up. And when I show up, I got to make it clear, I'm not scared of my own people. We need representatives who are willing to step into these areas and say, I'm not scared of my own people. And I got to make the case with you all. You have to vote. Nothing is going to change until you vote.
Well, a good question to me always is, what a little over 100 million people voted in the last presidential election for the president, and we got what 380 million people in the U.S. I mean, of course, you take out the kids, but you're still talking about like 200 million people who were, who were sitting on the sidelines during what was the most major presidential vote that this country, and I think even still that was a high turnout for what usually happens, I think, in an election. And it seems like when Democrats want to win, and maybe it seems like that's when they really go out and try to win the hearts and the minds of those people who don't vote, is when they really want to win. When Obama was running, they really wanted to win. And his speeches just would inspire people to come out who I think haven't voted in a long time or had lost faith in the system. After Reagan and Bush, now here comes Bill Clinton. I think they really inspired people to want to come out. They didn't want another 4 years of Bush after 12 years of the Reagan-Bush fiasco. They're like, look, I need to get up out and vote. We had crackheads like, look, we gotta shuffle ourselves down there and vote too. And I think we lack that group like you talking about, who will consistently go out and really who's targeting, whoever could target those 200 million non-voters could win every election for the next, but we're stuck in a two-party system who it's in their best interest to not have these other 200 million people voting. Democrats aren't to me fighting that hard to make it easier to vote. They pander a little bit, but they're not really fighting. It's I don't know, man. I just wish the only way I see out is if we can get, like right now, if we circle back around to Kenosha and all this, the center line is way too far to the right. And especially when we talk about equality, our starting point is way too far to the right when it needs to be center. It's way too far over here, and that's where we're always starting. And so that's what keeps us locked into this situation where I'm in support of moderates, but there are certain issues where no, I'm not in support of a moderate issue because it's not supposed to be a political issue. Equality shouldn't be a political issue. So to me, there shouldn't have to be a moderate, a right, and a left on equality. It should just be equality and that's it. But it is a political issue. So somehow we got to win those hearts and minds and pull that needle to center where it's so far right now. And we got so many people sitting on the sidelines, as many people that are protesting, as many people that are anti-protester. There is still much more people than those folk combined that is just sitting there waiting to see who's going to win. And that's what's hurting this right now. And that's what's pissing me off more than anything about this whole thing, is how can you sit on the sidelines when all of this is happening? I don't get it.
It's crazy.
Well, let me be the first to say and let these folks know. And this is the reason why I hang out with these two cats, because they know a hell of a lot more than me. And they study stuff and they pay attention to the world. So for the first time in a long time, I have actually considered going out and voting again. But I need to do my own little bit of research, and I need to look into people and see who actually deserves to have that vote. Because that's one of my biggest things. Like, I don't believe anybody deserves to have it. I really don't. But at the same time, and the way you put that too, and saying that, nobody deserves my vote, technically I'm giving some asshole my vote. So at the end of the day of not doing something.
Honestly,
I don't like that shit.
There are two additional segments that I feel like we should do as a channel regarding voting leading up to the election. One, I completely agree with you, Jason, that when you look at the ballot, there are a bunch of judges and smaller positions within Chicago that people are being asked to vote for when they don't know anything about these people. I believe it would really service our listeners, especially since a lot of them live in Illinois, if we did a segment breaking down some of these different people, talking about where they stand on the issues, and not trying to say this is who you should or shouldn't vote for, but just really just presenting the information and saying, hey,
This is
here
what this
are the
dude is
here are the
about. This is
people.
what this dude is about.
Exactly. And then based upon wherever you fall, you can vote accordingly. But also, I think we should do an episode, since a lot of people, they say, I have no intention of voting because I don't care about the top, or I have a real issue with the top. I don't like Biden. I don't like Kamala, or I don't like Trump, but I don't feel like anything is going to happen, so I shouldn't bother voting. I think we should have a segment about what do we feel like is a real drawback of potentially not voting, and then that Biden and Kamala not winning. Like, people keep saying, well, Black people's lives would be so much worse, and Trump being in office for 4 years would be so much more horrible. I think we should do a segment and analyze whether or not that's true, because I think there is a case to be made that maybe this ticket has done a lot more harm to Black people than Trump actually has. But at the same time, maybe Trump could do a lot more harm over the next 4 years than Biden and Kamala Harris would do. So I think that's something we need to discuss to help more people be informed about why you should or should not vote at the top of the ticket. But regardless, there's no excuse for not voting down ballot. There's just not. There's just not. These people have too much control over your lives. And going back to what you said, Hudson, there are way too many issues that have become political when they shouldn't be. Like, yes, if Jacob had been tased, we would not be having a conversation about him. If the police are having a discussion with you and then you run into your car against their wish and they ask you to stop and they tase you, that's good police work. Like, clearly you on one, you having a problem, and we're gonna have to tase you and work this out. It is that the problem is not that they attempted to stop him. The problem is not that they had an issue with him going to this car. The problem is that their instinct was to shoot him. And for whatever reason, that has become a political issue where people feel like you're anti-police if you say the police should not be shooting a man in his back that is not a clear threat to them. And it shouldn't be. And going back to that topic, now there were protests again last night. And on top of just the protesters being in this situation with police, you have militiamen thrown into the mix. So it was this white militia. I think it was called the Boogaloo Boys or something like that. I don't remember. There's so many of these little groups throughout the country, but
Kids with guns.
Basically, and they had rifles, and they were talking about they were protecting businesses, standing outside of shops, which fine. I don't necessarily have an issue with that, because I understand that as a community, it hurts to see your businesses being burned down. It hurts to see your businesses being destroyed. And as long as you're not actually actively walking in the streets trying to get into disagreements or disputes with protesters while you're armed, if you're just standing in front of businesses saying, hey, y'all can walk down the street, y'all can scream Black Lives Matter, y'all can talk about how much you don't like what the police are doing, but you can't burn down our stores and our businesses, I'm good with that. But the problem is, clearly that's not what happened, because there is footage of one of these white militiamen, who apparently is only 17 years old, saying that he just shot someone and running away from the scene when there's clearly 2 people killed, 1 person hit in the head, and ain't a business in sight in that footage. And apparently he was just walking down the block with the protesters. That is a serious issue. You're not protecting businesses. you're looking to get into disputes with these protesters.
You're
And
antagonizing motherfuckers at that point. Yeah.
exactly. And there's an additional video with one of these militiamen where he says the police told them, hey, we're going to push protesters towards where your militia people are, and then we're going to leave because we know you can take care of them. How the fuck are we supposed to feel about that? What are you supposed to take away from that statement? This guy has no reason to lie. Let's be real. There's no reason for him to lie about something like that. And he's there in his tactical gear and his rifle and all that bullshit talking about, yeah, they were just going to leave the protesters with us. What do we think that means?
I mean, the fact that these motherfuckers, in one of the videos, they literally standing in front of a gas station or something like that. They all got themselves all cornered or whatever, and they walking with the armored cars down the street. And motherfucker hop out of the top of his tank and shit to toss a motherfucker some water to say, hey, we appreciate y'all being here. You know what I mean? So, I mean, in the grand, like, at what point in time are you giving people the fucking heads up to say, hey, you know, do what you got to do? You know, it's like you literally, I'm not saying that particular situation gave them the heads up, but all these little altercations, all these protests, where you got these motherfuckers that say, fuck it, we gonna go arm up, we gonna go grab our AR-15s and we gonna go down here and we gonna stand across the street while they protest. And oh, we're not intimidating anybody, we're exercising our Second Amendment rights and this and that. When weren't you expecting one of these motherfuckers to fuck around and pop off at somebody at some point? I mean, how is this not expected? Ain't nobody just showing up to a place with guns and shit not expecting to use them. I don't know what the reason you having a fucking gun for if you're not gonna fuck around and use it. Doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's just like the fucking police and shit. It's like every time they go into a black neighborhood, it's expected they go upstrap and blow somebody's fucking head off. So it's like, how do you not see that coming? And then, you know, the police themselves are welcoming them down there. You basically deputized these assholes and gave them permission to go and blow somebody's fucking head off.
So I'll be honest.
Here's what they're.
Go ahead, Hudson.
I was going to say, here's the thing that they don't see coming, because they see that coming, but here's the thing they don't see coming. And I don't know why they wouldn't see it coming, but I think I posted it earlier on my Facebook, is that what they don't see coming is that when these assholes do this, right, and when these protesters are like, no, we're not going to take this. We're not going to take this. We're about to rush these motherfuckers. They don't realize that these dudes from out of state, they going to hightail it. They gonna be gone, and they gonna leave these officers there to take the brunt of 1,000 protesters coming rushing straight at them, right? And what they don't understand that just letting them do this is just letting them basically incite further riot. You know, is not the way to go. There's a reason that police tend to not use guns in the middle of these dangerous looking riots. There's a reason they don't, because the moment you up the ante and you shoot somebody, I mean, you've opened the door. You've opened the door. And now if you're gonna now let armed militia come and just occupy the city now, do you expect do you forget that people on the left got weapons too? I mean, are they too engrossed in their Facebook memes of people of men in dresses? You know, as if there's no folk that got guns and will come out there and use them. You know, so you know, here's what's scary to me. And 10 years ago, we used to look on TV and see all these uprisings in all these different countries across the world, right? And we used to sit there and kind of be glad that, hey, at least we're in America and that don't happen. And look where we are now. Look where we are now. And it's just so scary to me. It's so scary to me. I'm scared to death. I freely admit it. You know, and when we talk about what could happen in the next 4 years of Trump, we got to keep in mind we're where Trump got to in these first 4 years. I mean, he took us to places that we just haven't went to before, you know. So, you know, I think in
I don't
another
think you
4
can blame
years.
this on Trump.
Well, see, here's the thing about that. You know, it's he's taking a stance of he's going to stay out of these situations because he wants it to look bad on Democrats, right? And B, let's take it another step further, is that let's be honest, if we didn't have this pandemic, I'm sorry, it's not going down like this, because people are going to work. People are. It's gonna be some protesting, but it's not gonna be. You're not talking about 86 straight days of protesting in Portland. You know what I mean? Not when people are going to work each and every day. People are gonna forget about it a lot more. It's going to. So this falls on Trump. Had he handled that pandemic properly in some kind of way, shape, or form,
I'll give you that. Yeah.
And people aren't stuck in the house, and so here's what he did in 4 years. Another 4 years, oh man, I don't know. Right? You're talking about someone who might be trying to blunder things, if you're referring to Biden and trying to do certain things, as opposed to somebody who's just stumbling on the shit. You know, you ask me what's worse, I don't know. But what I do know is I've seen 4 years of Trump, and I'm ready to see someone else. And who's to say that that's not going to be worse? But I'm ready to see someone else. And if Biden don't do the job 4 years from then, I'm going to want to see someone else. And I think we don't hold people accountable is our problem. You know, it's even beyond the voting, we don't hold them accountable. And we go, hey, well, you know, we just going to vote for Biden again. Well, you know, for me, let's try someone else. You know, so I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, going back to what you said, Jason, about, you know, if you've got these people outside with guns, you've got to expect that they're going to use them. And why would you be comfortable with that? On the one hand, I definitely agree that you're throwing more layers to a situation that's already volatile. But the other problem with that is that, exactly. But the other problem with that, though, is, you know, let's be honest. Looting is a real situation. It is a real problem. I don't care about what's happened downtown. You know, I don't. Let me just state that publicly. I don't care that Tesla was looted. I don't care that these Gucci stores looted. What are they really doing for the city or Black people in general? I find it very difficult to really drum up some care regarding that. But in Kenosha, this is a little small community. All right, this ain't no big city. It ain't these billionaires with these major businesses. Like and I understand these places have insurance. More than likely, they have things in place to be able to recoup losses and damages that they experience. But still, I think it's a little bit different. And the fact of the matter is, we've already seen stories. In fact, I have a story on deck that I'm going to post in the SJH Podcast Family Facebook group that I haven't done yet. It's the stories of small businesses that were looted. And there's this woman who did a story with the Sun Times where she talked about she was standing in the store and the looters just bum rushed it and pushed on past her. And she was saying, please don't hurt me. You know, just take everything that you want. It's fine. Like they took her phone. She begged for her phone back. So the guy was like, all right, look, I'll make a couple of calls and I'll give you your phone back to you. Hey, yo, I got all the gear. Pick me up from around the corner. Terrifying situations, you know? And so I understand why, from the standpoint of the people in that city, they're like, if we're gonna protect these businesses, we need to have guns. It needs to be completely apparent to the potential looters that are in the area that if you attempt to just run up in here and destroy the businesses in our communities, lethal force might be used against you. I frankly, I understand that. I understand the issue with deputizing folks and giving and allowing folks to believe that, hey, I'm a cop in my own world and I can just run around here and try to hold people accountable. I understand the problems with that. I understand the problems with white militias, and that oftentimes it's just a cover for white supremacy, and they're using those guns to intimidate Black people. I do understand that, but I feel like it's wrong to just ignore the looting and destruction of small businesses that more than likely that community really depends upon. We can go around to the south and west sides all throughout Chicago and look at these empty lots of businesses that were burned down during the riots that never came back and were never built back up. It's a huge problem. It's a huge issue, and oftentimes there are no resources to recoup those losses. You got people who now have to go outside of their neighborhood to get the same things they used to go right down the corner for. And so I think we have to be real about that. Go ahead, Jason.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem I have with that right there. Okay, so this woman that you're talking about that had the special whatever, yeah, this happened. I'm assuming that happened day one.
I don't remember.
I'm assuming that happened when she was working in her store and she probably didn't even know what happened, and motherfuckers just came barging in, motherfuckers just started looting. If you at the job, if you at your business and that shit happened day one and you don't know what the fuck going on, yeah, I get it. Your business is gone that day. These motherfuckers showed up after day 2, day 3. Ain't no way in fuck that girl was sitting in her business open, recouped and cleaned up and everything. So at that point in time, these motherfuckers were protecting a destroyed business. So their only purpose in being there is to get into some shit. We talking about Kenosha. Like, I can understand if the motherfuckers were standing out front when shit kicked off. Okay, I get that. I get your point. We here to protect this business. We here to protect this lady. Cool. Them motherfuckers showed up 2-3 days later from another state, whole nother state. So you coming out here saying, these motherfuckers coming out saying that they protecting property and businesses, that's bullshit, because you're not protecting shit. That shit's gone. It's already gone. Kenosha's it's got 3 buildings. What business this lady own? A gas station? That shit was gone. Wasn't shit shaking 2-3 days later? You standing there with this gun. The only reason you there is to say, I wish a motherfucker would. That's it. That's the only reason you there with your fucking rifle. Because the lady that owned that business wasn't there. And you standing out front of a boarded up building. 6, 7, 8, 9 of y'all. In front of a boarded up building on a blockway, nobody except fucking police with with 4 armored trucks. What you protecting? What you protecting? That's bullshit. Them motherfuckers was out there on some old, I wish a motherfucker would. And the white boy and the 17-year-old got his fucking wish. He walked into a fucking crowd of fucking people, blew one motherfucking head off. The rest of them ran up, which gave him the excuse to say, I'm defending myself. And shot a couple more motherfuckers that probably would have killed a whole lot more than that. So the excuse of them motherfuckers went to go protect shit, protect people, and protect businesses. You kiss my ass. That's Kenosha. What the fuck was you protecting? What were you protecting the shit that wasn't already fucked up?
And I'm gonna come back to an example I think I gave, some weeks back. Is when you watch the movie Barbershop and you see the origin story of how Cedric the Entertainer's character, ends up not having to pay any booth rent, and why is the reason he ain't have to pay booth rent is because he protected that barbershop from somebody who's gonna throw a cocktail through it and set it on fire, right? No. Now, why did he do that? Why did he put himself in front of that? It's because the owner of that barbershop took care of him. The owner of that barbershop let a group of I guess what they were saying were Black Panthers come in there, have their meetings. It was a man who took care of folk in his community. right? And in turn, the community took care of him. Now, I'm not saying right that this happens in every case, but when that donut shop out in Roseland got messed up because of looting, right? He put a GoFundMe page out, and because he had been a staple in that community and took care of that community, he damn near got 10 times more than what he even asked for, what he even said he needed. And that was at the last check that I checked it. Okay? People were still giving money. So, you know, at the end of the day, here's my take on it. Like I said before, 200 million people sitting on the sidelines, right, need to get in the game, right? When you tell me about businesses, even on the South and West side, who got looted, who got burned down, I'm going to ask you how many of them really stood for the cause or did anything to help the community besides what they feel, I own a black business, that should be good enough. I don't think it's good enough for a white business. I don't think it's good enough for a black business. You operate in my community. You should give back to my community. You should give back to the community that you're making your money out of, right? You take care of the people there, they will take care of you. And I guarantee you, if that woman is a staple in that community, even though she got looted and things happen over there, because one of the points will be, right, it's a lot of people from the outside coming in and doing all of this. So they don't know that she's a staple in the community. But the community will know, and the community will give to her and give back to say, we want you back because you are a staple here. You've always taken care of the residents here, and we want you to succeed. And the people will do that. So I feel the point about businesses, but I also think it's time that people make a decision and get off the sidelines when it comes to equality. Like I said, I believe in moderates, but like I said, equality should not be a political issue, and people need to get off their butts on it and stop waiting to find out who's going to win this fight and get in the fight.
So in that same vein, did you all see that basically the entire day of playoff basketball was canceled because basically all the teams boycotted the games due to what happened to Jacob?
Hey, I was wrong. I figured the corona would shut it down first, but yeah, that's a good one too.
You say you were impressed, Hudson?
I was. Now, what I'm upset about is that the league talking about postponing now so that they can.
Really?
I think that they're trying to minimize the statement that these players were making. You know, because I read the reports that that league officials were in the locker rooms trying to talk to these teams. So they tried to minimize the impact of this, which is which I severely hate that part of it. But I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the players and say that's the league doing that, right? Mm-hmm. But I was very impressed when we talked about the WNBA and how they upped the ante and said, right, hey, we're just going to walk out on the national anthem. We ain't going to stay here for this bullshit. When they upped the ante, I was like, cool. But now these NBA players, that's what I respect. They up that ante, and good job to the Bucks for being the first ones to say, you know what, we gonna leave. Now here's my all-star. Kenny Smith.
Oh yeah, my man walked off.
You didn't see him. He walked off on Inside the NBA.
Sure did.
He gave a little speech about what happened. And he said, you know what, to show my solidarity to this and the support of the players who walked off, I'm walking off. And
that was what's so gangster about this shit.
Holy shit.
That shit was gangster, Joe. Because he could have just not been mic'd up. He could have just not showed up.
Right.
He got on. He made sure the TV came on. Cameras on him. Hey, just so y'all know, I ain't with this shit, and I'm standing with my peoples. Y'all take this mic, I'm gonna holler. That shit was gangster as hell.
Yo.
So both motherfuckers like, yo, Kenny Smith didn't show up tonight because, you know, he got stuck in traffic or some shit like that. He's like, nah, fuck that. I'm getting on the camera and I'm telling you I'm leaving, bitch.
he pulled one of them rock moves. You can take this mic, you can shine it up real nice.
Could you imagine being in production for that shit? Like, motherfuckers had to do his makeup and shit. The sound man had to get his mic and shit right. All that shit. And this motherfucker gonna leave? Hold on, stud.
That's
you know how much
amazing.
work that take before? You know how much when pre-production is? That shit take time. The motherfuckers like, wait a minute, how you just go up and leave, Joe?
And I mean, amazing.
I thought that was the highlight of the whole thing for me. And, you know, and I think that's a good example of some folk who were previously probably on the sidelines. Like I said, you can wear the shirt and do the kneeling, but I didn't respect that part, mainly because, but this is getting off the sidelines, in my opinion. You make that move, you have gotten off the sidelines and say, I'm standing with something at this point. And that's what I respected about that whole thing. And I gotta say, I'm down with it. That was cool to me.
That was a solid move and shit. When I saw it, I was like, damn, for real?
I gotta watch that
video.
video.
Some shit when the mic was off of him and shit, like, yeah, I'm whatever, dude. Take this mic, this shit. Right on stage level. All you saw was Charles Barkley hitting his mug, like, god damn, man.
That's terrible. I'm not doing that. It's terrible.
Jack just had his head down the whole time, like, god damn. The Giants is sitting there with the boo-boo face, like, for real? Like, yeah, dog. He gone. He up. He in his car already. He in the parking lot.
Yo, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy. I think I read that some baseball teams are also boycotting as well.
Football teams are doing it too. Well, not necessarily boycotting. Them motherfuckers just ain't practice. Like Detroit, I think Detroit was the first one that threw it out there. They canceled their practice or whatever. They just decided not to practice. And they was out there. They stood out there with some kind of sign that said, I forget what it said. Something about we can't live this way or something like that. It said something that was supposed to be like real meaningful. And a lot of NFL teams put out like statements and shit.
Mm-hmm. So
I think it just looks like it looked like it wasn't lip service. And that was the great thing about it. It didn't seem like lip service, which you hear a lot of. And that thing with Kenny Smith, it looked genuine.
Yeah.
It looked genuine, it looked heartfelt, and it looked like he's really tired of what's going on in this country.
Yeah.
And when I say win the hearts and minds, that's exactly what I mean right there. Is that people got to get tired.
So there are 6 MLB teams: Milwaukee Brewers, Cincinnati Reds, Seattle Mariners, San Diego Padres, San Francisco Giants, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. They were all scheduled to play each other. All of them boycotted, and the games were postponed. Did you all see Doc Rivers' speech as a coach about this as well?
I meant to look at it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I saw that he made a statement about it. I didn't read it.
It basically echoed all the things that you all just said. Seemed really like passionate, heartfelt, and he just talked about how tired he is of having to have a discussion about these types of issues and the way they keep coming up. And what I thought was very interesting about that, he specifically called out Republicans because the first day of the Republican convention had occurred, and one of the big focuses of it is, fear. Like, hey, Biden is going to make this country such and such a way. You need to vote for Trump and make sure that you don't allow this to happen. And Doc Rivers just seemed incensed at that. He was like, we're the ones being murdered. We're the ones who are having all these horrible things happen to us. What do you mean y'all are afraid? Like, why? You are so lucky we love this country. Like, why do we continue to love this country that clearly doesn't love us back? And he was almost in tears talking about it. Very, very heartfelt. And definitely, it just seems like there's a real corner turning where everybody is joining in and saying something has to be done. It's got to be made clear to these police departments they can't do stuff like that.
Well, I'm waiting for somebody with a national platform to just up and say it without no bullshit. Just say it. Is that what they're scared of is our retaliation. That's what they're scared of. I mean, seriously, they are scared of that. And somebody with a national platform just needs to up and say it. You know, you're scared that we're going to lock you out of the American dream once we are able to access it. You know, they're scared they're going to get locked out like they were locked out in the NBA for a long time because they just couldn't play ball like us. They are scared of that. Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing, we've been pushed to the brink of we always have to be 10 times better than them to get to the same spot they are, you know, and to think if we were actually placed on an equal footing, already being 10 times better than them, you know, I mean, what's left for them at that point? So, you know, they are scared of the retaliation. That's all it is to it.
So, since we were discussing that Doc Rivers conversation, and he brought up the Republican Convention, I think we're now on the second day of the Republican Convention. Have any of you been able to watch any of it? Or
no.
So the most conservative guy on the show says he hasn't bothered with it.
I just admitted to the fact that y'all kind of convinced me to want to kind of go out and vote. What makes you think I'm watching the Republican Convention?
Hey, well, you know,
I didn't even watch the Democratic one for that matter.
I've never known how conservative you are, so I don't know if you watch those things and get inspired a little bit. Like, yes, the right is going to take over.
Y'all call me conservative all you want. I can give a damn what a woman does with her body. And number two, I can really give a fuck what most people do. Just leave me alone. Yeah. Shit. Leave me alone. Let me do my shit. Don't fuck around. Tell me what I can and can't do when everybody else is fucking doing it. That's the only thing I'm conservative about. And stop putting shit in my face. That's the only thing I'm real conservative about. If you want to be homosexual, if you want to be a lesbian, if you want to be a man, woman, I don't care. Go ahead. Stop making me watch it. I don't want to watch it. If you keep telling me I don't want to watch it, I won't watch it. But you keep putting it in my fucking face. What am I supposed to do? Close my eyes?
Oh, sorry. I gotta say something to that. So
here we go.
I saw this super funny ass meme the other day, posted by one of the conservatives I keep on my page because I just like to see what they say. You know, I like to have that little insight.
I got some of them too.
But he posted this meme somebody put up, and it's one of those memes where it's saying, I didn't care that you were black until you started asking for reparations or something. I didn't care that you were this until you know, stuff like that.
You wanted some shit.
I didn't care that you were gay until you asked for marriage.
Well, here was the very first one that was up there, right? It said, I didn't care that you were gay until you started shoving it down my throat. And I responded to him. I was like, I don't think you kind of mean it to sound this way, but maybe you should reword that a little bit.
Wow.
You might want to reword that section. I know what you're trying to say, but I think some others might think that there was something else going on.
They might get the wrong impression, bro.
Well, I find it interesting that most conservative, I've heard that too, where they say like, you know, I don't give a fuck what they do or whatnot as long as I ain't got to sit there with. Well, why are you so angry? Like you literally, like once you make the decision that apparently they throw it in your face, you ready to fuck around and vote for some asshole that's not gonna fuck around and let gay people get married or
Right.
or a woman having an abortion and shit. If you didn't care, then why are you voting for this shit then? Why are you so hardcore about these people who talking about taking these people's rights away? If you don't give no fuck, then don't give a fuck.
Right.
That's my whole thing.
Right.
I didn't care until, so now I give a fuck. So I'm going to take away your happiness and all this. Go fuck yourself at that point. I ain't never made the point to just be like, well, they shove it in my face so much, I'm just going to be some hateful asshole that's going to try and fuck around and get rid of their happiness. Gay people want to be married? Go right the fuck ahead. Guess what? I'm married. This is what we do. And you go ahead and do it yourselves. Enjoy. And fucking joy. God damn it, shit. Go the fuck ahead. I'm not about to vote for some motherfucker not to be able to fucking marry gay people. Go ahead. Do it.
You know what was always interesting with the people who were against gay marriage and all that is that, do you remember like back in the 80s and back in the 90s when people kept accusing gay people of being like these promiscuous, just going out and doing all this with everybody.
It's not real. Orgies. They're not real relationships.
and they were accusing them for so long of spreading the AIDS all over around. You're spreading the AIDS and this and that. And wait, you're accusing them of being promiscuous, but they want to get married. It's like, why would you stop them from getting married then? If you think that's an issue, but now I don't get it. It's like,
if you want to limit the promiscuity,
right? Everything they say is such a contradiction to the first thing they said. Like, you making me scratch my head way too much because I don't understand what you're talking about. You know,
it makes me think you cared in the beginning.
Well, they just don't. They never say what they mean, which is, I just don't want you there. They will never just say straight up, I just don't want you.
I wish you didn't exist in the grand scheme of it all.
Exactly. It's not even, I wish you out of the country. I just wish you did not exist. Just what you said, Jason. And I don't understand why they just don't up and say it. Well, I understand why they won't.
Oh, shit. But I was about to say, I've been asking that shit for the longest time. It's like, if you're fucking racist, just be that. Do it so I know where the hell I stand. But nope, God forbid, because they want you to fuck around and think about it. Now you fuck around accusing liberals and everybody else of being fucking racist and everything else. And in the back of the corners, they hee and shit. They didn't see me.
Hudson, what about you? Man. Did you see anything from the Republican convention?
No.
Did anybody hear the chick talk? I'm really interested in hearing what the one chick who is the anti-abortion chick. I don't know what the hell her name was, but she had made the statement about her black son being likely being looked at by the police for criminal activity or whatever the case was, as opposed to her white son. It's like this kid has to run away immediately. I don't know how old he is. He got to get the fuck out of there.
Okay, so her name is
not coming to help you.
Her name is Abby Johnson. She's an anti-choice advocate, apparently.
Of course, her last name would be Johnson. Ain't that a bitch?
Check your family tree.
Right.
I am running the fuck away. I swear to God.
So apparently she worked she worked in the Planned Parenthood as a clinic director, but then resigned in October 2009. And now she's an anti-abortion activist. I'm not certain.
She said she witnessed like a baby that was aborted like 13 weeks in or something like that. And that's what messed her up. But it was never confirmed or something like that.
So apparently she's saying that she said during her speech that police are smart to target her adopted black son because he's statistically more likely to commit a violent offense.
Oh, man.
Ain't that a bitch? Ain't that Ma? What the fuck? Like,
wait. So here. She said, I recognize and I'm going to have a different conversation with Jude than I do with my brown-haired little Irish, very, very pale-skinned white sons as they grow up. Right.
I'd be like, you ain't about to have shit. Can you be emancipated as adopted and shit? Can you do that? I'm curious.
Right now,
I'd say we get a GoFundMe for Shorty.
Right now, Jude is an adorable, perpetually tan-looking little brown boy. But one day, he's going to grow up, and he's going to be a tall, probably sort of large, intimidating-looking, maybe brown man. And my other boys are going to look like nerdy white guys.
Wow.
Okay.
How old is this kid?
Okay. Yeah. So we need a GoFundMe page to get a lawyer up in there.
Get Shorty out of there. Get him emancipated with a check. God damn. That's fucked up.
And I need to find out the agency who allowed this adoption to go on.
Talk about you can't choose your parents. Ain't that fucked up? And this nigga's adopted.
So she said, so the fact that in a policeman's head, he would be more careful around my brown son than my white son, that doesn't actually make me angry. That makes the police officer smart because of statistics. Thank you for bringing this up, Jason. I hadn't read about this.
You suck, lady. You really do. Like, wow, that's a whole nother level. It really is. At least you know where she stands. That if that ain't a direct indication of who the fuck this bitch is, oh my God, we got to get Shorty out of there. I'm sorry, we got to do something,
bro.
You know, here's the thing about it. In the election with George Bush, when there was no thoughts that he would win at the 8 years of Reagan, there were no thoughts George Bush was going to win, right? And then he threw the Willie Horton card. I believe that was his name, Willie Horton. He threw that card out and scared folks to death about the possibilities of Black people coming and coming in their homes, raping their families, doing this and doing that. He put the fear of God into these folks, and his polls instantly turned around. He won in a doggone landslide. And
what do you get from this, bro? I'm sorry. Keep on going.
It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing, and a lot more straightforward. Like, I didn't think you could be more straightforward than Willie Horton, but this is a lot more straightforward. This is straight up saying you need to watch out for my Black son that I'm raising, because he is more than likely to commit a. You actually got someone's mother to stand there and say you need to be ready to knock my son across the head.
You know what's tripped out? What's tripped out about this whole thing, right? And I've been having this discussion with my wife for the last couple of years. We've been living out here in LaGrange. We've been noticing all these white couples with all these Black babies. Is this the end game? Is that what it is? I've been trying to figure it. I thought this was some blindside shit, like they was all trying to raise athletes so they could fuck around and get rich or something. Is this the end game? Okay, I'm raising them, but they still a threat. You know what I mean?
You ever seen
all this white influence on them and shit, but they still gonna grow up and they gonna become animals no matter what I do. Is that what this end game has been all about?
What's the name of the white actress who she adopted a Black son and then
Charlize Theron. I already know who you talking about, because I've been snapping about that.
I love, first and foremost, I love her as an actress. I think she's done so much to put positive images of women in movies and to say, hey, women can be action stars, women can be in these same roles. I think she's been amazing from that.
And we can make dudes into girls too.
But when it comes to adopting this little small, I don't know how old that kid is, but he looks like he's like 4 or 5.
She started when he was 3. She adopted him and whatnot, I think, when he was a baby. But she started that girl shit when he was 3 years old. No. It's not just dressing. She is actively turning that boy into a girl.
What do you mean?
She has that kid on drugs. The shit that fucks around and amps up fucking. Yes. She is actively turning her.
Take back everything I said.
Her son.
Wait a minute.
Is actively transgendering right now. Okay. that kid will be a girl at some point in time.
Oh,
This ain't just dress. This ain't dressing up. I think the only thing she ain't did is had the kid's dick cut off yet. No, this kid is actively whatever the fuck, into a girl.
Oh,
You know, let me.
And she adopted another one. You know that, right?
No.
She got another little black kid too.
All right. We're almost at the end of the show. So let's do one more topic. And I feel like we should end this with a happy topic that we can all feel good about and something that we can feel inspired on. So Hudson, you mentioned that there are some reports that Trubisky is improving and that the outlook for the Bears looks very positive. You wanna tell us more about what
this doesn't feel like a happy subject at all. It just don't even feel like it's gonna start off happy.
So as I'm always perusing the headlines, apparently Trubisky had an off day, and now Nick Foles, it seems to be, favored at the moment, had to have the slight edge. So there were more instances of some sloppy throws.
Missing them hoops.
Yep. So it's looking about the same as it did last year.
So they've been practicing and they had a scrimmage, and now the Trubisky was on point in all the practices. Yeah. But even in a fucking scrimmage against his own team, you're like, how you don't look good against your own squad? How's that possible?
Now come on,
you know everybody.
That's Khalil Mack on the other side. Okay, let's hold on, player.
If he got sacked the whole time, okay, fine. If that's what you're saying, he didn't look good because he was on his back the whole time. Cool. You just got finished talking about some sloppy throws and a bunch of other shit. Okay? You ain't saying nothing about Khalil sacking him all day.
When you see that freight train coming towards you, tell me you ain't gonna throw some sloppy throws.
It's other motherfuckers besides Khalil Mack playing the league, and it's practiced.
I hope Mack has a return to form. He was not up to snuff last year.
I guarantee you, even if it was a scrimmage, QBs ain't even live in a scrimmage, so him getting hit ain't even a possibility.
Right.
So even if Khalil was coming, he going right by him because he ain't finna touch him. But you still that scared? If you still that scared in practice, you need to go the fuck on back to North Carolina, wherever the fuck you came from, Indiana, whatever. Wherever the fuck that boy from, it's a wrap. Tell Nick Foles to strap it up and let's get it.
I think this is an excellent time to note once again that we could have had Patrick Mahomes.
And we moved up to get this thing.
We could have had Patrick Mahomes, and apparently didn't even work out Mahomes or Watson. Was like, no, Trubisky.
You could have had Watson. I mean, even if you chose between the two, you getting 2 fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It's cool. It's a little bit more jelly on one. You can't fucking lose. You picked a fucking pickle sandwich. Who the fuck is this dude?
Watson said Chicago didn't even speak to him. Like, it just, no.
I remember watching a lot of drafts, and I remember saying, oh, well, I don't know much about that. Oh, okay, well, cool. These motherfuckers, when they fucked around, they said Chicago traded up in the draft to the second spot, and you had the third. And my immediate thought was, what the fuck? What are you doing? Who's getting ready to go off the board that fast that you literally traded up one spot when you were in the top 3? That was number one.
Wow.
When they announced the name, I had never had a what the fuck moment in my life because I was like, who? I think everybody in the crowd said that shit at the same time. Who? Who the fuck is
Trubisky?
Trubisky? Who the fuck is this?
See,
Who,
I
me?
don't watch college football at all. So anytime they're announcing these names of drafts, I'm like, ho hum, okay, I guess he must be good.
You know what was fucked up about the whole thing? He was there. He was at the draft. They called his name. He came walking out the back. You know, only top 10 motherfuckers be sitting in the back waiting to hear their name called. Didn't nobody even know who he was. And he was there. He was at the draft. Like they called him up, like, yeah, we gonna be picking you up, so just be ready.
Yo,
Put on a nice suit, come on out.
No, Jason.
Where was it? Was it in Philly that year? They was in Philadelphia.
That's that internal confidence. He's like, I am top tier. Even if y'all don't know it yet, I am top tier. So
who you are? Why are you back?
I
bet you it was other cats back there in the draft. Like, who the fuck is Duke? Why is he here? Why is he here with his family and his agent? Who's my man? I don't know. I ain't never seen him before. And he got his name called second.
We could have had Mahomes, a once in a lifetime, once in a generation level talent who has only won his first Super Bowl, has only been in the league like what, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and is already basically considered a Hall of Famer, already considered someone who's gonna just destroy the record books. And then there's Watson, who's none of those things, but he's damn sure better than anything.
He's better. He's so much better.
Watson came out publicly, said the Bears never even spoke to me. No respect whatsoever. We need
what
to
almost
get
had
that
me
ownership
sold?
up out of there with the quickness.
You know what almost had me sold on Trubisky? That Pro Bowl and shit that him, Watson, and fucking Patrick Mahomes was in.
Yeah.
Even though he was an alternate.
Yeah.
He did good enough to at least be an alternate. Right. When they all stood there and they took that picture on some bowl, yeah, this is the 2017 draft right here, yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay. Huh. Now you sit back and you think about that shit right now. One of them motherfuckers that won the Super Bowl and the NFL MVP, and he only been in the league for fucking 2-3 years. The other dude, he ain't won a whole lot, but he at least been in the playoffs a couple times.
Respected, competitor.
And then you had Trubisky in the picture and shit. Could you imagine a motherfucker with one of them erasers trying to get his ass out the photo and shit? Like, we don't want this shit on our record and shit. Like Patrick Mahomes, like, get rid of that goddamn picture, dog. Cut his ass out. Do something. Help me out. I just want this to be me and Deshaun and shit. That's all I want.
I think 7 years from now, we're gonna see one of those ESPN specials of what happened to them. You know, where are they now? And we're gonna see. I mean, we've all seen them pitiful shows where them people, they were draft bust and they're working at McDonald's now or something, or you know,
down on
the, you know, and we're gonna see Trubisky there, you know, taking number 2 in the draft, high hopes by the Chicago Bears, and you know, he's gonna be down and out on his luck, working on a farm somewhere. You know, I see that in the near future happening. I think that's gonna happen.
I got an even worse one. I got an even worse thought for you. He ain't gonna be on the team next year, especially if he don't play this year. I watch him go to another squad and he become a fucking all-star.
Hell yeah.
Just like every fucking Chicago Bear who didn't ever left the fucking team, or then just fucked around like we should have got and fucked around, went somewhere and just became something else. I see him being an MVP for some reason. I think that's going to be the worst part about it. He going to go to some place like Detroit. He going to go somewhere and he going to be winning like a motherfucker and shit. Why?
I don't think
he going to play for the Jets, and the Jets going to be all world.
I don't think he's got MVP in his future.
Because them other quarterbacks you talking about, they showed some promise. They showed some consistency. This one don't.
Kyle Orton. They show they can get the job done. We have just never been a good place for quarterbacks, you know, and there's a problem with the coaching. And it used to be okay when Lovey was in place because the defense was so fantastic that everybody was like, all right, the offense isn't all that, but we understand, you know, everything can't be perfect. But now the defense is not good enough to really make up for the complete lack of offense. And even the people who are really supposed to be stepping up, they're not doing the job that they're really supposed to be doing. Like I said, Mac was pretty disappointing last season. So something has to give.
I just see like, Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think. See, that's the problem. Here's the problem, because I think the defense is going to kill it this time around. I think that's the problem. And I think that's the problem is going to be this year, and that's gonna allow Trubinsky to survive again. And that's my problem with this. Like the first time it was the defense in 2018, I guess it was the defense, and it was Tariq Cohen and stuff like that, you know. And in all the next year, none of that showed up next year, and then you start seeing Trubinsky's failures. And I think this year, I think Tariq Cohen's gonna have a chip on his shoulder. I think the defense is going to have a chip on its shoulder. They're going to show up again. And then Trubinsky's going to be in these short situations and be able to kill it again or look like he's killing it. And it's going to help him survive again another year is what I think is going to happen.
I could be wrong because I just have a soft spot and a bias for this dude. But I just don't feel like our defense is the same without Adrian Amos. I feel like we had corners who let a lot of people get by him, and Adrian Amos's speed stopped a lot of plays that otherwise would have went further and damaged us a lot more. And I feel like taking that speed out of the equation really hurt our secondary. And then with Mack not stepping up and providing the same level of pressure he did the year before, I feel like it made just everything worse. And while I do believe Mack is going to play better in this upcoming season, if we even have a season, I don't see anything in the secondary, especially we gave Ha the boot. He clearly wasn't a good replacement. I don't see anything happening in the secondary that's going to make up for that. So I don't have high hopes for our defense, to be frank with you. I think we're going to get more of the same.
I think that linebacker core is going to carry a lot of weight this year, and I think they're going to again pull it up, much like the defense. I think is going to pull Trubinsky to make him look good. Is what I think is going to happen.
Honestly, I just say number one, I think the biggest thing. I think one of the things that was detrimental to them was that fact that they did lose Adrian Amos, because they had a solid, strong safety. Because that allowed Eddie Jackson to become, work his natural position at free safety, which gave him total roam of the field. And he's so damn fast and shit, ain't shit just going behind him. So that was one of the best things. Last year, he ended up having to play more strong safety than anything else because ass and shit went out there doing the fucking thing. So, and then when it comes to the linebacker core and whatnot, I think injuries kind of fucked him up, and the fact that Floyd never fucked around and showed up. So Mack had more challenge and whatnot. It was easy to target his ass and whatnot and fuck around and throw a couple double teams and shit at him when you ain't got shit coming from the other side.
And don't forget the D-line was banged up too.
Right. Then Hicks and shit was out and whatnot. He got fucked up twice and shit in the same year. So his intimidation factor and whatnot wasn't there either. I will say this: they had a lot of second team guys who stepped up and played real well, but the majority of them is gone. Exactly. Like that boy Nick Wachowski or whatnot, he got him a contract over there with the Raiders. Right. He stepped up. I thought he actually earned him an extension, but I guess the Bears
want to pay him.
Right,
and that's what's fucked up because he earned a paycheck with the Bears. He stepped up when Danny went down. When Danny went down, Nick Wachowski, I had never even seen him play like that like he did last year. The whole time he was here. And all they talked about when they picked him up in like the 6th or the 7th round is he's just like another little Urlacher and shit. You never saw that shit like the first 3 years. But last year, that motherfucker was killing. And so now, I think injuries and whatnot was a big thing. And personally, for me, I think that what's Chuck Pagano? He ain't what was the fuck? He went to coach fucking Denver. He was defensive coach and whatnot for last couple years. I can't remember the boy's name. Why can't I remember his name? But he ain't that guy. My man, and what the hell is it? Yeah, look it up. I know you're looking it up. You type faster than me some more.
Vic Fangio, is that who you're talking about?
Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio was a big. If he had a gut, I would have thought he was Italian and he was a fucking mob dude and whatnot. Because that's the kind of motherfucker. He was a gangster motherfucker. Because he fucked around and he challenged that defense. And he made them great. And you think about it too, because they basically, the Chicago Bears defense and shit that year that they fucked around and went 12-4, they were the mirror image of the 49ers when they went to the fucking Super Bowl. It was that 4 years ago and whatnot when they had Kaepernick as their QB.
Right.
Vic was their defensive coordinator there. They were the spitting image of that defensive team. Minus fucking Floyd. Floyd was supposed to be the next Alden Smith. That was his thing and whatnot. And that was the defense that Vic put together. I think they lost their edge when Vic left. When he left, they gangster, they swag, everything about the defense left. That's the only minus I saw to the team. Chuck Pagano, he a good dude. Yeah, he survived cancer. He was the head coach of the Colts, and they played for him. That was good. But I don't see nothing gangster. I don't see nothing defense about it, personally. I don't see anything. He not Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio, even half the time and whatnot when they played games and whatnot, he was up in the fucking booth somewhere. You rarely saw him on the fucking field. But you felt his presence in their team and when they was on the field. When they took all them pictures and shit with him and whatnot after they won the NFC North, and he was out there taking all them gangster poses and shit, Vic Fangio, that's all Khalil Mack said when they played against the Rams. He said Vic Fangio was a fucking genius. Because the Bears defense barely ran a blitz when fucking Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator. Last year, that's all they ran, and they never fucking got anybody.
Right.
So when you had a front four and whatnot that can penetrate and intimidate a quarterback, and all everybody else had to do was fuck around and cover, hell, you made your secondary look all world and whatnot because your front four was the shit. Yep. Along with a bunch of outside linebackers and shit that can handle the middle shit and take away them coverages. And then you got motherfuckers coming in and storming them. You got motherfucking Khalil Mack throwing goddamn defensive tackles at quarterbacks. Yeah. He tackled fucking Rodgers with his back. Everybody remember that shit. When he fucking around sacked that boy with his back.
He did have a lingering injury last year. He had a lingering injury last year.
They had a lot of injuries last year, and I'm hoping that they all come in healthy, and hopefully they make that transition. They not gonna have that same attitude from the coach that they had that year, but hopefully they create something. Because on paper they look awesome.
I agree with you.
But we all know what paper look like.
That the swag isn't the same, and I feel like it has been the same definitely for some time. You mentioned Vic from a defensive standpoint, and from a head coaching standpoint, I just haven't felt the same about the team since Lovey was there. I felt like Lovey had his own swag and his way about him, and I never felt like we ever really replaced that. But when you talk about the issues with the actual personnel, I just see no reason to believe that those issues will not continue into next year. First of all, I feel like Akeem Hicks is a huge anchor for us, and whether or not he's healthy determines a lot about whether or not we're going to do well. And I just don't feel confident he's going to be healthy coming into the season. I feel like he's pretty close to retirement. You know, and just seeing the interviews with him and the way he's talking, he doesn't strike me as this guy who feels like he's going to be playing for 3-4 more years. So I feel like we're on borrowed time with him. Hudson, I don't understand why you have so much confidence in this linebacking group. Like Jason said, the guys who we had come in and step up last year, a lot of them are gone. The real anchor there is Roquan Smith. He's awesome, but he certainly can't do it on his own. Trevathan has been injured damn near every season. No reason to assume that he's going to be healthy coming into this year. And even then, he's going to be one more year slower and more things going on with him. So I don't really have a whole lot of confidence at any level that our defense is going to be all-star caliber.
Call it a gut feeling, but I think the defense is going to definitely do better than they did last year. I think they are.
I think it's a solid group too. Just especially with the addition of Robert Quint, because he replaced Floyd. Right. And that's definitely a fucking bigger. That is a forward movement with Robert Quinn. He had a quiet 2 years after because he started off in St. Louis. He ended up getting traded to where the hell he go? I can't remember what team he went to. He played for a couple. He played for the Rams. He played for a couple other teams, and then he played for Dallas last year, where he was fucking awesome. And he fucking ran, and the Bears are picking him up on that curve up now. I think he's coming back into form. It remains to be seen if he can continue the progress. But I like the way he look, and I think he makes that linebacker core and whatnot very solid, way more solid than Floyd did. Because Floyd wasn't doing shit. They was smacking his ass around like he was fucking 4 years old out there trying to play football with a bear.
I mean, I think it makes it harder. It's another piece that makes it harder to commit to double teaming Mac. It's another piece that makes that more difficult to say, okay, I'm gonna keep putting 2 or 3 guys on Mac each time, which was quite frankly what was happening. Even with Mac's injury, they were all they had to do was double teaming them because no Hicks there, no Floyd wasn't doing anything, and I mean it was just it's like
and
whatever.
Blitz was so damn ineffective and shit. Even if they blitzed and shit, like they could blitz 8 fucking people. It's only 6 motherfuckers out there blocking.
Right.
Somebody got to get there. How is that not possible?
I think they get that. So I think they get that little bit of that swag back, and I think they do some good things this year. You know what my interest will be is will they? I think the offense took a step back because I think they stopped playing around with some of those weapons that they had, like Tariq Cohen.
That's
you know, and Tariq Cohen is such a unique talent. If you don't use that uniqueness, I think they tried to set into a regular offense with Trubinsky, and they were so set on trying to do that because he was in his next year, and now he knows the offense and this and that and the other, that they didn't play to any of their strengths, and that was a big deal to me. And I think all season I kept asking you guys, why aren't they using Tariq Cohen? Why aren't they using?
Tariq was barely on the field last year.
Yeah,
you know, and it makes me wonder: did he have a lingering injury that they just didn't want to talk about? Did he have something going on that they just didn't want to say? I don't know, but it was something. Oh, and don't forget who's our linebacker who decided he was too depressed to play last year.
I don't remember his name, but I know what you're talking about.
But if we could even get like him at 75% of what he was doing his first year, I think we got to win there. He is an awesome talent, and it's a shame I don't remember his name because he just wasn't there last year. But I'm hoping.
Curious to know who you're talking about.
I'm hoping he's there.
Shea McClellan, is that who you're talking about?
Nope.
I was about to say he ain't been on the squad for a while.
Roquan Smith.
I thought he ended up with like some
Roquan Smith
or something. Oh, that's right. He did miss a game. He wasn't sick or something. I know what you're talking about. I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
Now I'm hoping whatever it was, he's done with it. He's cool and he's ready to come back. Now, if he's there, that linebacker crew can vie for the best in the league. If he is there and if he's solid, I think that's the best linebacking core in the league.
The tragedy of life is not death, but what we let die inside of us while we live. He said that in October last year.
Where he looked that up? I hope you got them poems out your heart, Playboy. You're trying to play some football.
75%. I just need 75% of what he did his first year. I mean, he led the team in tackles, right? I mean, you know, he was all over the field.
And he didn't even he didn't even start like the first couple games and whatnot when he did that. That was when he was a rookie.
Yep.
He came in and led the team in tackles, and he only started like right after like week 3.
He's unquestionably a huge talent. So last year he had 101 tackles, 2 sacks, and an interception. The year before his rookie season, he had 121 tackles, 5 sacks, and 1 interception. So
See,
he's
even with the
unquestionably a
bullshit
talent.
last year, he still managed to get over 100 tackles.
Yep.
I'm just saying, if you put him with the rest of them, I think we got a strong linebacking core. But you're right. There's a bunch of ifs. There's a bunch of ifs in there. But
only thing I worry about and whatnot, and I've been seeing it since Matt Nagy been here, and that's just the fucking coaching. Now, I don't know if hopefully he done gave up the play calling to somebody else, because I think they got a new offensive coordinator. Because I don't want to see him down there with that damn clipboard thing over his fucking face no more. He calls wrong plays at wrong moments. You fucking, you got fucking 3rd and 1, and you decide to fucking throw a bomb down the fucking field to some
With
motherfucker
Trubisky.
who ain't even fucked around and played. You threw, like, I love Javon Williams and shit, but that nigga saw the field 10 times last year, and you fucking throw it to him on a fucking 3rd and 1. And you got Allen Robinson, you got all these other motherfuckers out here on the field, and you chose Javon Williams, making him look like an asshole.
In his defense, did he choose Javon Williams, or did Trubisky just fuck it up and ended up trying to throw it to Javon Williams?
Part of that coaching. Stop putting this motherfucker. And that's the other thing we was talking about too. And I think Hudson, me and you talked about that shit once before. When they came out his 2nd year under Nagy, and the motherfucker said, well, we think he can get some of these plays now. He basically called him a dumb fuck. We can only feed him so many plays the year before. So now we gonna open up the fucking playbook. You telling me this asshole ain't seen the playbook? Is that what you're telling me? That whole year, he went 12-4. He only had 4 plays he knew. That was it. Everything else, he was like, all right, look, this is what you gonna do. You had to draw the play up for him because he ain't seen the playbook.
So now see, this is the difference between me and Nagy, and maybe that's why I'm not an NFL coach. Well, I just said, okay, we were good with them 4 plays. I'm gonna add 4 more plays this year. So now he gonna have 8 plays.
We flipped the page.
And he gonna work with them 8 plays this year.
See what he can do.
You know, we just gonna keep going. Next year it'll be 12.
You know what messed up? He probably did that shit and he fucked up them new 4 plays. You never know. Well, you talking about it and shit like, hey, coach, man, you ain't saying nothing about 4 more plays. Wait a minute. I barely got by them 4 you gave me last year.
Oh, man.
Thank God for our defense and shit. You know what I'm saying?
But hey,
we saw that shit when we went to Bourbon A. Remember when it was him and it was who was his backup? Whatever. It was the 3 of them. It was 3 of them out there. And remember when we got our seats right over there by the little rope, and they was throwing for the accuracy in them nets and whatnot. Trubisky ain't hit 1. Rest of them niggas was just netting them like, And Trubisky went last, so you know we was all paying attention. And we just looking like, oh, that's a little bit off to the right. Who was he throwing that shit to? The net right there.
Wow.
You remember that? We was sitting front and center.
Well, we got to remember who Trubisky is, and it's been talked about a lot, is that he could never get that. He could never beat out the quarterback for that starting job in North Carolina. He could never do it. He had to wait until that dude graduated, and that dude ain't even make the league. Okay, he could never beat this dude out, and it's like, what did the Bears see during these
it was
tryouts
just him.
Not a damn thing.
Made them. I mean,
I bet you if you go back and you look at some old film of them Tar Heel games when he played and shit, he probably was the best motherfucker on the team because they clearly wasn't recruiting because he didn't have nobody behind him to take the spot. If he couldn't beat out the first dude, who we saying that they actually recruited somebody and a freshman was behind them wouldn't have took his spot.
You know,
so if he's the only motherfucker on the team who halfway decent, he probably look all world.
Here's what I think about the Bears, right? Would you want to be the team that picked up Patrick Mahomes, and then Patrick Mahomes becomes the big bust of the NFL draft? I mean, we got, when somebody said it was coaching, I mean, it really is. Does Patrick Mahomes get a $500 million contract if he's with the Bears? I mean, we got to seriously look at it. Or now Patrick
Is he
Mahomes,
MVP?
he's going to be better than what Trubisky is. That I'm going to give. But like you said, is he going to be MVP? I don't think so. Is he going to be Super Bowl champion? No. I think he has a decent career, and with any luck, the Bears will trade him away, and he can get out of there. But I just see the Bears just screwing it up.
Destroying his whole career.
Yeah, I just picture the Bears.
He went where he was supposed to go.
Now, we talk about ESPN specials. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes, what could have been.
What if?
Hey.
And you think about it, too, because he would have came in under Fox as a coach. Let's say he sat out that first year. He sat behind Alex Smith, who actually was a pretty decent quarterback after a while. Mm-hmm. Who would he been sitting behind and whatnot if he'd came to the Bears after a year?
Oh, who was that?
Glennon. Mike damn Glennon.
Yeah.
He probably would have ended up starting just like Trubisky did.
Yeah.
He probably wouldn't have had a year to sit out because they would have got rid of Glennon's ass like they did and threw his ass out there to the Wolves. Right. And then you would have had Fox as your coach. Who clearly had no offense.
You know, we'd have been calling for their heads if they didn't put Mahomes in the game. Boy. We'd have been out there like, how you still got Glennon out there? There's no way we'd have let Glennon go that whole year. There's no way.
The only thing Mahomes would have had on our squad would have been Jordan Howard at the time.
Oh,
because I don't remember none of the receivers.
No,
I got to think real hard. I don't remember any of them.
It was a very lackluster group.
And I think their tight end was my man who ended up getting his leg messed up. What was Buddy's name? He turned out to be pretty decent, but he jacked up his leg real bad against New Orleans. I can't remember what his name was, but he just retired because he wasn't gonna be able to play again.
Well, brothers, I think we could probably talk all day about the Bears and all the issues and forecast regarding this season. But it's been over an hour at this point, so I think it's time to bring it to a close. I hope everyone who was listening enjoyed the show. Remember, we would love to hear your feedback on the topics we discussed, what we should discuss during the next show, and just in general, how you feel about the conversations we've been having. Please reach out to us on SJH Podcast Family. That's our Facebook group. You can also reach out to us on Twitter at SJH Mancave or watch our YouTube videos also at SJH Mancave as well. If you would prefer to email us, you can reach us at info@sjhmancave.com. With that, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of SJH Man Cave Live, and we look forward to seeing you next week, Wednesday, 10 p.m. Central Time. Take care, everyone.
All right now.
Peace out.